Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. Would you believe this gun is 69 years old this year? Wow! And now I feel young again because I'm nowhere near that age. I got a long way to go. Anyways, it is a first variant nonetheless. Crosman 150, 22 caliber version. Okay, but it's had a couple changes over the years. Other than the last person that got it resealed had the wrong kit for it. Yeah, go figure. Anyways, to get a true rebuild kit is going to cost you about $38 in shipping. Whether you're in the U.S. in the U.S. you'd probably get your free shipping, depending which company, because Mach 1 air guns and Baker have the actual proper seals, Mach 1 has the brass hat, so you're going to have to put your stem in. Or you can go to Baker and he gives you a complete stem assembly, but it's not the brass hat, it's some black material. And I think it's black or white, one of the two. I have it favorited. But I also looked at eBay too, and I was originally looking at eBay to get a kit for this because it was for a customer originally. Oh, see, Baker. Come on, Baker. Yeah, his is white, so I'm not sure if it's Delrin plastic, what he's using, but in the kit you get one black O-ring, which will be for the inner valve. You get a transfer port O-ring, you get the probe O-ring, and of course you get the two proper whitish kind of colored O-rings, which are the proper ones that don't go on you. Okay, and a thing of Daisy pellet gun oil for a whole whopping $38.75. It's basically the same price as Mach 1. Mach 1 gives you just the brass hat with the seal and the other parts. Of course, when we look at Mach 1's kit here really quickly, this should be it right here. Mach 1, they give you the brass hat with the seal. They give you 3 of the whitish O-rings, which is actually even better because then you're guaranteed this thing is holding forever. You get the black transfer port O-ring wait a minute. Yeah, transfer port O-ring is black and the probe is the whitish color. So you definitely got all high-end seals. $38 even, okay? So yeah, I think I'm probably I'm not sure if I'm gonna go to Mach 1 or the other guy. I might actually go to both. It's kind of hard to say. I don't have the tools to take apart my stem, and it's a one-shot deal. So it's kind of like, well, I could make the tools I need. I do have enough equipment for that. So I'm kind of torn between the two because I do get like all white except for the transfer port O-ring, which I would want black anyways because you need that push-in flexibility for that one. But I'm not sure. Either way, these guys are the only two with guaranteed 100%. These kits are proper and will work, and they back their kits. Something that eBay doesn't do, and there's a place called something, I guess it's Ford Repair Guns or something. Anyways, he's got a kit up here for $25. Everybody else is really cheap, but they all have the wrong O-rings, period. And it's kind of like, well, I'm not quite sure what to think about that one. We've got a Crosman service kit here, plus optional grease. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. One O-ring out of all of them is the proper one. And all you get is a couple O-rings from the looks of things. I don't know. It really it's $9.57 to $18.55 for prices. And it's like, but he doesn't specify if it's for the 150 or not in there. So if we open up the ad, just says seal rifle pistol washer kit. And it's like, oh, okay, so there's a few extra O-rings. None of which are a transfer port O-ring and no valve stem O-ring. It's like, what? Greenwich British pound. Well, that can explain a few things right there. That's the one. $25 is for the 150 or 157. You get a transfer port O-ring in black. You get the probe in black, which doesn't matter for either one of those. You get a outer valve O-ring in black. You get a inner valve O-ring in black. You get a spring. You get a stem that has black material, which is looking to me like Delrin. And if that's Delrin, forget it. It's not going to work. You need 3,000 psi at least to hold those things shut. You're only getting like 8 and change, 900 tops out of a 12-gram bottle. So yeah, that stem is not going to work very well for you. And you do get a proper O-ring for the cap and of a little bottle of pellet gun oil, which who knows what kind of oil that really is. Could be transmission fluid for all we know. But yeah, that's from Henry Ford air guns. And I wouldn't trust that kit for $25 if, anyways. So we do have some kits that we can get, but the only two trusted places are Mach 1 and Baker, and Chick-ching baby. The other kits, some of them may look like you have correct O-rings, but you technically do not. The whitish O-ring is the one that you're going to want on the cap the most, because you got to be able to take the cap off after you shoot out the bottle and be able to switch it right away. And you can't do that if you have all black O-rings, and if you have the wrong grade level of that whitish colored ring, or if it's very clear looking, very shiny looking, that's probably going to be an issue too. So, especially if it's too spongy, definitely going to be a problem. Okay, the proper O-rings are very stiff. They're a whitish material. They don't expand very much. They expand more than enough to seal, and they will last you for decades. So Mach 1 and Baker, but $38 and shipping to Canada. Yeah, it's going to be an expensive repair for a customer. So anyways, I inherited the gun. So for now, I've bucksheet it with refrigerant O-rings, which I have no choice but to use on my Diana guns because, I don't have the proper O-rings. And Diana doesn't want to fix their problem. They've never gotten back to me about those Trail Scouts. So they're a problematic gun where unless you are willing to wait after you shoot all the gas out, and that's 3 bottles worth, you got to shoot all the gas out, then let her sit for a half an hour and bake in the sunlight. Then you can pull the cap off and change your bottles. So that kind of sucks. That's kind of the position we're in with this gun right now, is that type of an O-ring being used in here. And actually I do the cap and the outer valve the same way. I didn't even bother to take the valve apart. My theory is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And besides, I'm trying to get some shooting fun out of it until I get some money together to order an O-ring kit. And it looks like I'm forced to go to Baker or Mach 1 if I want the proper parts that are guaranteed to work, because none of the eBay stuff is going to work for you properly. However, that being said, we have a first variant gun. How do we know? Well, because it's actually Crosman Newport on this thing, I believe is what it says, if I remember correctly. Crosman 22 caliber pellet gun, 150. On the other side we have Fairport, New York, USA, Crosman Arms Company. That's one way we know it's first variant. What's the other way we know it's first variant? Well, the style of the grip is correct. The color is not. We'll get to that. The back cocking system has been changed since factory new. And it also has the steel rear sight, which is only adjustable for windage, not elevation. We also know that this is also actual metal up here too, etc. And of course we have separate receiver, separate barrel. And of course this piece is never coming off the barrel. 22 caliber, rifled barrel, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, so what's the authentic one actually look like? Well, the authentic, very first variant, if it's all original, will have what looks to be either like black or brown grips of this exact same style. It will also have a cocking system, which is single only cock with the word power increase and an arrow on it. So when you cock the gun all the way to the first position, which there is only one, you then would turn this knob until it starts to stick out, and that increases your power, or it decreases when you turn it the opposite way. This was a failure system from Crosman, from what I'm gathering for information, and if you had a problem with your air gun, you sent it to an authorized repair center. The repair center would automatically just replace your hammer system for you to a now 2-stage only system. So you got low power and max. That was it. Okay? So you wouldn't lose any horsepower out of your gun on full power, but you only had 2 stages now. Because that other system, like I said, turned out to be a failure. They quickly remedied that problem. Okay? And then, of course, the grips were the other thing that's a dead giveaway its first variant. Because as soon as you find a second variant model, things change in the second variants and so on. And when you got into the other variants, you would get a grip style. Well, this is wood, but you would get a style like this where it makes the handle that much more narrower. And so that's where I copied that design from, actually, was from a 150 that I had in years ago. And I had duplicated the grips hole it was in. And I can't remember if I sold a set to the guy or not, or maybe that's part of the reason why it was in. But I made a few sets anyways. I even did a set out of walnut, which were a little bit different taper down here, a little bit different profiling here as well. And then I did another set. Can't remember what wood this is. I'm going to have to figure it out again, what wood I used for this. But these are also a little bit different as well in profiling, etc. So different comfort levels and whatnot, different feel. These are more of the thinner, and they got this flatter edge here, which kind of gives you a little bit more wraparound, especially if you have much smaller hands. I like the rosewood ones I did here. Well, Coco Bolo, actually, Mexican rosewood, Coco Bolo. These are much thicker, robust, and these are the set that's going to actually go on the gun. And if you want to see what they look like, well, let's talk, and I'll change them while we're at it. So anyway, so like I said, I've inherited the gun now. It's my thing to deal with. Because the cost is going to be more than what the gun is worth to repair properly. Originally, eBay was an idea, but after enough investigating, and of course they did sell out of parts, but then they got them back again, which was fine. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry has these kits, but none of them are going to be correct for the gun. That's the problem. And the cost of getting the actual kits, well, like I said, more than what the gun's going to be worth. By the time I get the parts from the States, have them shipped to Canada, and my labor cost, it's going to cost more than what this gun sells for. And this gun right now, as a leaker in fair condition, is only averaging $50 to $75. And that's not a whole ton of money when it's going to cost you well more than that to reseal it. This is why we encourage people, hey, you know what, if you own a pellet gun, learn to fix it yourself, because the cost of labor is mental. Even Crosman no longer repairs air guns. Basically, you send them your dud, and they throw it into a crushing machine, and they send you a new one. Okay, or if you bought it at Canadian Tire because you're in Canada, you just take it back within the year for an exchangement, and they just keep exchanging it every time it screws up for 1 year. So, with the exception of Stoker air guns, that is a warranty thing, and God knows when you're going to ever get your gun back from Canadian Tire, but it's warranty only with the Stokers. That's the way they work. So anyways, so here's our gun with the rosewood grips. We have a little bit of wear in here, which is normal for the age, and a little bit down here, okay? So we don't know any history really about this gun other than finding out that, yeah. So these whitish marble grips, they actually come from the J.C. Higgins and the, what do they call this, a Montgomery. Oh, let me just find it here. J.C. Higgins, 22 caliber. Now, that one had a little bit different top slider on it for material. It's looking like it's plasticky, which is kind of like really cheaped out. Of course, same everything else and same grips, but this isn't the Higgins, because the Higgins gun is marked Higgins on the gun. Then you have the Montgomery Ward Hathorn M150, which has the same color, but it has the style, okay, except, well, plastic, and they have the thumb rest built in. But yeah, that's another tell of where things happen. Now that they do say too that the chances of having original grips on a gun anymore for 69 years old, I mean, it's a pig in a poke. You might get lucky and get the original darker colored grips with the first variant that stayed original and intact. Maybe he was able to replace them with original intact. You may find a set somewhere for sale on the internet, and if you want the original color in the wraparound style here, then yep, you're paying for them. It's not an option. Or you sub out for something different. I like these, to be honest. I think these are going to stay on the gun because, yeah, it gets rid of the rest of the plastic, and I can keep my other ones in the perfect condition that they're in too, which is another thing. But yeah, they're beautiful in rosewood, eh? That makes the gun so much better. And now we have zero plastic. Even the safety on these is metal, which is great. Now, other variants too have the longer rear sight that also has elevation and windage, and they're made out of pot metal apparently. I first saw them on the site here, and I'm like, that's cheap, man. They put plastic on there? Not necessarily. From what the write-ups are saying, these are pot metal of some sort. And it's like, well, they look the same style as what's on our 2240s, 1322s. Yeah, same style, same look, just made out of metal instead of plastic, and the receiver is going to be cut to work with them. This receiver is only cut to work with this style only, and that is it. Okay, so, and that's very common to first variants of the original design without getting into the J.C. Higgins. And then, of course, we get into the Montgomery, and the Montgomery's got the different rear sight. Like I said, the receivers are actually marked accordingly, so you'll know kind of which one you've got. Now, if you have an original first variant that still has the original cocking system, thumbs up, man, because that's rare as hen's teeth, because that system was a failure, which is why Crosman replaced it with this now two-stage cocking mode system, which works perfectly fine. They even had a gun, too, with 3 stages of cocking. And it's like, so you got low, medium, or high. And it's like, man, I wouldn't mind that system. Could I throw that in here? Probably. But yeah, and I checked my collection. I have some extra hammer systems like this, and none of them are power adjustable. So it's kind of like, wow, I got the same thing. It's no use replacing with the same thing because this works. But yeah, so check out the forum.vintageairgunsgallery.com for the Crosman 150, and you'll find the threads there. I find the information very interesting on this guy's knowledge base of these guns for the 150 series. And they had a really nice Medalist series too that was all in chrome, really nice case with it, wraparound style grips like these, but they're like the brownish blackish color, or whatever you want to call them. Maybe they're more of a tortoise shell. It's hard to see from the picture. But the gun itself is chrome, other than the rear sight, the front sight, and of course, you know, the handle. Obviously, they didn't go chrome on it, or the grips, but very nice looking gun. And they even had shooting kits where it was a whole case and all, where you could hang your target up in the case and shoot at the case. And it's like, man, that must have been a really heavy case, because 22 caliber pellets really could dent things up. So hopefully they used some thick steel in that. But they had some really interesting ones. So it's a lot of neat information to find out about your gun. You know, they also had another first variant listed up here. In box even, and it's like, wow, in box still, that's cool, with the original wraparound grips, which actually, you know, in this picture they look more black than anything, and just an amazing gun. They're accurate, they're loud, they're tack drivers. Like even on the low power setting when I shot this thing last year, it's like, that is one tack driver, man, like holy cow. That's some good cookie power. And then he even made a special targeting version of this gun, where, you know, really thick barrel and, you know, set up for precision targeting. So yeah, they're match pistol, they called it, and it's a very interesting little setup in itself too. So do check out the link below in the description. And you can find out more and more. And it might help you identify your fit 150 if you have one. to know how much of your gun is original or what variant it possibly is. Because see, back in 54 when these things came out, and they ended in 67, Crosman didn't do a dating system with serial numbers, because I've got the serial numbers, but there's no way to date the gun back in that era because they didn't do dating with serial numbers then. So you had to kind of know about the gun and have the information and all this. And then, I mean, nowadays people are buying these guns used, and it's like, well, what variant do we have here? What is it all about? And, you know, so it's made my venture interesting to finding out more about this. But the simple fact is they're not worth as much money as you think just because it's old. Okay, and the 22s, they sold tons and tons and tons of them. So it's not like it's even a rare gun. The rare one, that's the 157. Rare as hen's teeth, very short-lived because everybody had already had 22s for a long time. And then Crosman says, oh, let's do the 157, so 177 version. Nobody really wanted it because the 22s have more knockdown power, even at the same speeds, right? So, you know, and even at lesser speed, 22 still has more knockdown power. So it's kind of like, well, you know, it's one of those things, right? So anyway, that's all I got for you on this. Like I said, this was nothing more than an overview video, just to get you acquainted with this thing a little bit. I've got one now, and yeah, I would love to add another one or two of them to the collection. But first I got to get this one properly serviceable so that it's going to function the way it should all the time. And so I got to wait a little bit longer. But for now, at least, you know, for bucksheed O-rings, which I'd never do for a customer, I don't mind doing it for myself, at least to get it running and see how things are going to go. I like the gun. I do like it. But we do have to do an actual review, some testing, find out what pellets this thing is going to like or not like. We don't have elevation, so we're stuck at 10 meters shooting with it, which is fine by me. I'm okay with that. And we'll continue on. But that's going to be in the spring, probably early summer, you know, when it's a nice hot day out, warm weather, and we can actually do some good shooting without too much interruption. And of course, we don't want to do this on a windy day either, because that just throws off all of our sighting and trying to get it sighted in. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll definitely catch you on the next one. See ya.